Tánas orm a baile seán, is mis go mar mar example, as in tá mé a large fé visualizing data and understanding the power of representation. Danny and I came up with this word salad.
It's really good.
This is probably my 50th time giving a variation of this. It goes under various titles. The last time I gave it was called From Numbers to Narratives, an Introduction to the Power of Data Visualization. It basically boils down to number, picture, good, give, job. That's all we need to know. So what's ahead? A good didactic practice is you tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them what you're going to tell them that you told them, and then at the end you tell them what you told them, and it's really good. So you're going to get a little bit about who I am, why I'm here, and then we're going to go through what's data visualization, why do we visualize, what are the benefits of it, what makes good ones, a little bit into what makes them bad ones, some examples we're going to take apart, and then some conclusions, key takeaways, and questions. Though my intention is to run over the time so there's not enough time for questions. So, question is, who is this guy? I'm Robert Chappell. I grew up in the west of Ireland. I went to university in Galway, and I spent 20 years as a professional archaeologist. And in 2012, I joined a certain Fortune 100 company that may or may not be based in this room. And folks, I was literally the poster boy for this company. Without a beard, that's me. So before I left here, I led the data visualization function for the cybersecurity department. If you've got a question in your minds at this moment, it's generally going to be along the lines of how do you go from archaeology to data visualization? And the proper answer is that good archaeology is about getting data, literally it's out of the ground, you clean it, you sort it, you compile it, you turn it into a narrative that tells us about the lives of people in the past. The real reason is that I am passionately committed to not starving to death. And as you see, it's worked. With that, I'm going to ask the question, what is data visualization? A lot of people kind of go, oh, that's got to be a trick question, isn't it? And this is, at its simplest level, this is the answer. It is a way of presenting data in a pictorial or graphic format. The two parts of this are data and your pictorial or graphic format. It gets more complicated, but at the top level, that's it. What I will say is that obviously the online interactive dashboards are the norm these days for most companies, but other options are available. And just kind of as a top level comment, always think of your audience. These are our day-to-day lives, so this is what I'll be concentrating on. So let's look at what a modern interactive dashboard looks like. By the way, I do all these kind of data things in my spare time because I am that kind of weird. Because it's completely normal to collect data on earthquakes in Iceland from November and December 2023. This is a small data set. It's about 7,500 earthquakes with their date, their location, their magnitude, and their depth. The point I want to make here is that what gives a dashboard, a modern interactive dashboard, its power is its availability, is its ability to filter that. So 7,500 data points, that's a lot. So you, for example, can change the magnitude. Give me only the earthquakes that are of magnitude 3. So on the Richter scale, that means they're often felt by people, but they don't cause damage. 7,500 dashboards down to 290 with one click. One more click, you can narrow the date range. Just give me the first 12 days of December. So we're down 2 clicks down from 7,500 down to 28 earthquakes. This was all done in Tableau, but we're kind of tool agnostic in this. A lot of these data visualization tools allow you to do something like a circle select. So let's have a look at just the ones that are out on this particular peninsula. Brings us down to 15 earthquakes. I haven't mentioned it, but you've probably noticed that that stack of line graphs are changing in concert with everything else. And that one filter choice applies to everything across your dashboard, so that as you dive deeper into your data, too many D's, everything changes together and it gives you that narrative that you're trying to extract from it. The final one I'll say is, a lot of these give you the ability to hover over. So 3 clicks, 1 hover, and you are down to the individual details of one dashboard, or of one earthquake. These are incredibly powerful tools, but the point that I'm going to make tonight is that they are at their very best when they adhere to good design principles. So, the question is, why do we visualize data? And over my years of reading and thinking about this, I've got 4 main reasons. It's not exhaustive, but I think there are four good ones. And the first one, I'd say it's a clear and quick way to present data. So, small amount of data, I asked ChatGPT to give me the names of some made-up data products and some numbers of clicks to go with it. When it's just 2, it's not hard to pick which is the largest number. Hey, this is not a large data set, but you'll be looking a while before you find the largest number in this. It's that one there. On the other hand, fire this into your data visualization tool of choice, and suddenly you will see if there's patterns emerging that you can very quickly get to stuff. So in my totally made up set of names, we have DataStream Pro, and we can see that there's something different going on here. We can pull that out, and you can start asking questions. Well, what do we do different? We got more clicks in 2020. What did we do wrong in 2023 that nearly fell back? Data visualization is about stories, and stories start with questions. So why did this happen? Why did a child go into the dark forest? What happens if you're allowed a kid to grow up on a desert planet raised only by his aunt and uncle? These are questions that start stories, that start narratives. When it comes to data, a single line on a screen can ask those questions that can start that narrative story beginning, and we move from the numbers to those narratives. Second reason we do this is it simplifies large or complex data sets. So this is the 1890 census of the US. In 1890, the US had 63 million people. This is the first US census without a Western frontier. The statistical analysis, or a statistical atlas of this was compiled by the wonderfully named Mr. Henry Gannett. 63 million people. That is a lot of data. So one of the easiest ways to simplify large and complex data sets is with a map. And suddenly you see, you don't have to read 63 million lines of data to get what this is giving you. So this is the distribution of population. And you see that classic east-west divide where basically everything east of the 98th meridian is populous. Then you kind of got the American West, which is less populous, and then the American West Coast, which is more populous. So we see that, we can delve into it. This is the Irish, the natives of Ireland. And you see that in the broadest terms it conforms to that same geographic distribution, but with hotspots in those places that we still think of as heavily Irish: New York, Boston, Chicago, Detroit. I will point out that for some reason no Irish person wanted to go to southern Florida. Who can say? Again, from the same one, today we call these small multiples. We're looking at deaths from per 1,000 deaths from known diseases. So very quickly you can compare and contrast these between each other and realize that there are different things going on. So for example, this is labeled as consumption. Obviously today we call it TB or tuberculosis. You see it on the West Coast through Washington, Oregon, and California, but also hotspots in Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, and Tennessee. And obviously there are historical reasons for that particular distribution, but then you can really easily compare it and contrast it. This is scarlet fever. And you're seeing that there's a different distribution here, and there are different reasons, and you can take those huge data sets and very quickly simplify them, compare them, and begin asking questions. if anybody's wondering, like, why bother with something so old, this is 1890s, the company I currently work for spent a bit of money creating new login screens and landing pages, and they put on them quotes from customers. And one of them that came up as I was logging in says, this helps us take the vast amount of data we collect and make it useful. So yes, I'm using a 19th century example, but it's exactly the same principle that we're involved in today. Third reason, it allows you to identify patterns and trends. So this is a very simple data set. It's 366 rows with 3 data elements. So it's basically data from the US from 73 to 1999 about the erranked dates of the most popular dates for birthdays. 366 rows, and you will be going through it a long time as that raw data before you find any pattern or trend in it. Drop it into your data visualization tool of choice, and suddenly you see that you can start asking questions here. You'll immediately see that the period from July to October is darker. Those are the highest ranked months. Looking a little bit more, you realize that of the top 30 most popular days to be born on in the US at that time, September holds 21 of those. Anybody September birthdays? Right. If you delve into this even more, you realize that September 16th is the most popular birthday. And it's not just that time and that place, because this is turned 90 degrees. This is data from England and Wales from the period of 1995 to 2014. And you still see that dark band concentrating on September. And in fact, September 26th is the most popular day to get born on. If anybody is wondering why, remember, count back by 9s. And my sister has a September birthday. She doesn't find this joke the least bit funny. Happy Hanukkah. So the fourth one of these is, why do we do it? Tell a compelling story. Every time I do this lecture, I try to bring it up to date, add new ideas, add the latest thinking, be it my own or other researchers. The last time I was updating this, I asked ChatGPT that question: why do we visualize data? And I didn't tell it how many results to bring me back, but it gave me 3. It gave me those first 3. Quick way to represent data, simplifies complex data sets, and identifies patterns and trends. It didn't give me this one, tells a compelling story, which I think is one of those things that separates us as humans, because we love stories. The amount of times that I've been told that the novel is dead, that nobody's going to be watching movies in years to come. We love stories, whether it's you're around the campfire or you're going to the Omniplex to watch the latest Marvel movie. Like in the US, every year they consume 14 billion quarts of popcorn, like as a nation, not individually. And a lot of that you can put money on is in cinemas, where they're watching, they're interacting, and they're being moved by stories. I should have asked him earlier, like, anybody here from NISRA? No, okay, it's okay to tell the story then. I'm going to start with a completely not compelling story. Like, NISRA do wonderful work, like all our government statistics. Once a year, they release the baby names. And 2023 is the last year we have data for, and the 3 most popular boys' baby names are Noah, Jack, and James, and 3 for girls are Isla, Fia, and Grace. So every year they put together something like this. It's lovely. They back it up with, my teenage kids use the term mid. It's a mid dashboard, not great. Power BI, it's fine. And this is their press release. Our local media take that press release and report it on critically, and they talk about the most popular names. Thankfully, they give us the data as well. The data is available from 1997 up to the new one in 2023, and it's not all that hard to make it machine readable. And once you do that, you start doing things well. You put together a bar chart just to see. Maybe a pivot table to kind of look at a couple other things. Pie chart, just to divide it, boys and girls. I'm going to say this now. Not all pie charts are even. I'm going to be mentioning it later. There is not a test at the end of this, but if there was, there would be a question, are all pie charts evil? Just so you know. And then you put on the most wonderful thing, line charts. I love line charts. And then you have 4 graphs, and that's great. Until you add filters and you add them all together, now you've got a dashboard. Now you can start asking questions, and those questions lead you to stories. So, for example, top 5 boys' names, Jack, James, Matthew, David, and Ryan. They're all in decline, across from 1997 right down to today. Top 5 girls' names, Chloe, Sophie, Katie, Emily, and Grace, they tell a different story. They are rising in the period from 1997 up to about 2008, and they too are now in decline. So, in fact, the whole story is about declining birth rate, but nobody's asking this question. This is the current dashboard that I've built for this presentation, the last time I updated, like last April or so. But I've been interested in this data for quite some time, so this is the really awful dashboard I put together back with the 2016 data, and you can see everything's in decline. I did a version that included local government boundaries in 2022, and again you can see everything in decline. It's only when I do this version that you notice that there's something happened here. What happened that reversed the decade and a half's decline in the year 2021? Now, if you remember, count backwards by 9s, and a lot of those are going to be 2020s. What happened in 2020? So we had the COVID pandemic. So what I think we're seeing here is what we call the Netflix and chill effect. Our narratives about the pandemic are largely about those that we lost. We lost friends, we lost family members, we lost people we cared about. And it is important that we remember those, but at the same time, this is a narrative that is there in the data that is not being reported on, but it's there, and we can find it. I will say that represents just over 1,000 children born in comparison to the previous year. 460 boys, 635 girls. I always hope that I don't really have to do a piece about the benefits of data visualization, but it's always a good one. There's a group called Modern Gov. They're a UK public sector training organisation, and they've written extensively on this, and they've come up with a figure of 90%, and that is the amount of information that is transmitted to your brain as visual rather than any other senses. 90%. Any of you who have ever had like a troublesome pet, like a cat, dog, small child, that you need to get a pill into, that they will fight you, will know that you wrap it in something that is nice, like, you know, maybe ham, probably not broccoli. And the point here is that if you have stuff that is tough to communicate, wrap it in data ham, wrap it in visualization so you can communicate it simply and easily. Same group produced this interesting statistic. 97% of people believe the information that they are presented with is accurate if presented in a graph, rather than 67 just reading it. The point I want to make here is that you have to be so careful with this. You have to be so careful because this represents great power. And you know what's great power? Thank you. Be careful, because you have a lot of power. And when you're looking at other people's data visualizations, they have great power over you, so you need to be aware of it. The last one is my favorite. They reckon that good data visualization can shorten meetings by up to 24%. Nearly a quarter, shorter meetings, fewer meetings, meetings that could actually be an email. So, ask the question, what makes a good data visualization? Normally we'd say we start with 3 elements of the data, the design, and the story. And with that, the data, you're going for accuracy. You want to present the data accurately and without attempting to mislead or distort. And this ensures that the insights that you gain from that are reliable. In terms of design, you want clarity. You want it to be easy to understand and interpret. It should present data in a way that is straightforward and avoids confusion. In terms of story, you want to engage people. It should be visually appealing, and it should be engaging to the audience. It should capture their attention and make them interested in the data being presented. There are so many books on this topic, and I've read more than my fair share of them, but a lot of them boil down to just this point. And if you flip that over, you go, well, what makes a bad data visualization? So instead of your design bringing clarity, it brings confusion. It doesn't represent accuracy, it misleads you. In terms of story, it bores you. And finally, I'll say just pie charts with too many segments. Pie charts shouldn't be used only very carefully. They're not all bad, but a lot of them are. This is a key point I've mentioned before. I'm mentioning it now. It will be a key takeaway. If there was a test at the end of this, it would be on the test. So with that, I want to just look at a few examples of data visualization, kind of pick those apart and get an idea of what. Now, the internet is full of examples of terrible pie charts. And I'm not going to pick through all of these because the original version of this lecture would have been about 15 hours. Apparently that's too long. I'm going to say broadly, anything with too many slices is not a good idea. We are not good as humans with calculating angular distance. Anybody who's ever tried to fairly divide up a child's birthday cake will know this. Oh, the other thing I'll say to you again, and this is across everything, 3D distorts. It might look good, it might be a feature in whatever program you're using, but it distorts it and it can take you away from the core of what you're actually trying to show. I realize that if you're looking for good pie charts, I've chosen some examples of my own from various things I've done. And while I've experimented with different colors, with what information to put up there, to my mind, the best pie charts are ones with few segments that you can compare and contrast very simply, very easily. And on modern dashboards, you can use a pie chart as a great additional filter. So you can just click on the one or two, maybe three slices, and then filter your dashboard accordingly. The question that comes out of this is, well, what do you do if you have data that would end up with multiple segments? And the answer is, use a bar chart. That's your answer every time. And with that, bar charts. Again, just to point out, 3D doesn't do anything. I want to look at just one of these. This is a well-known and favoured example of bad but well-meaning design. So it says average female height for apparently 6 randomly chosen countries. As an aside, I would say I understand why the person that did this decided not to use bars, but instead used that, the icon of the woman wearing a cape. You know what's a cape, right? But they never thought that this actually looks ridiculous because you've got this kind of tiny Indian woman hiding from the Latvian giant. And this doesn't, there is no group of women that actually looks like this. So let's redraw it with bars, first of all, and once you start looking at it, you realize that this is representing only 5 inches in actual height difference. One of the things you can do, because all of our choices in this are political, they have consequences, is doing it like this without a 0 on this emphasizes the difference in height. Redraw it with a 0. Now the differences are still there, but the emphasis is on similarity, not disparity. Again, this applies to all chart types. These are powers that you can wield and they have consequences. Briefly on to line charts, and I always have to say before I do line charts, I love line charts. I think they are the perfect form of display. I will say I have a type that is named after me. It's called Chappell's Time Warp Chart. And in full disclosure, I designed it and I named it that, but nobody's going to name it for me. We're just going to pick one of these. Usually I'm going to go into quite a few more, but this one I want to look at. This is the unemployment rate under President Obama from January to November 2011, and is brought to you by Fox News. A lot of things to decode in that immediately, and part of it is, I sometimes wonder if Fox News, their real reason that they're there is not to provide bad data visualizations for people like me giving presentations like this. So if you've been paying attention to the last one, you'll immediately know that one of the problems with this is that there's no zero. The power of data visualization is that it bypasses so much of our judgment. There's actually a major error in this that I did not notice until I took it apart. And you can start to see it now, and if you still can't, look at the arrows. Now, I'm not saying that this was done to deliberately deceive, but we've got 8.6 and 9.0 being shown as the same thing. And again, this way that this is drawn emphasizes the turbulence. Admittedly, it's only going over a range of 0.6 of 1%. Redraw it with a zero, and we are using percentages, so I think it's fair to extend that to 100%. This has the effect of smoothing all these things. There is choice and there is power in what your choices and how you influence people and how you address your audience. Now, conclusions, key takeaways, and questions, and as we know, I'm not taking questions. So, what do we cover? So I told you what I was going to tell you, and I told you, now I'm telling you again. We did the what, the why, the benefits, the what makes a good one, what makes a bad one, and we looked at some examples. Now you will all remember that forever. I would say that the key takeaway within that are those elements of design, data design and story should flow seamlessly into best practices around accuracy, clarity, and engagement. That and pie charts, use them sparingly. If you've liked any of the examples I've shown here tonight, you can find me. I have a Tableau public page out there. My final word on this is everything is data. Absolutely everything is data, and you can use it to communicate any way you like. So, I'll let you take that photo. There you go. Right, anybody here do Wordle? Yep. Wordle is a data problem, because 5 letters in the English language, there are 12,478 possible words there. You can use data visualization as a way of cracking that. Why do one when you can solve them all? The other one that I bang on about is that I spend a lot of my free time filming local bands. I've just put about 200 of these on YouTube. And because it's becoming unwieldy to actually sort through them all, I created a data set that combines the data around the band, the performance, the venue, with data from YouTube, and you can use that to visualize your data, but also then dive into it, find the bands and the performances that interest you, and click straight through to their video on YouTube. Follow me on YouTube. And with that, I say thank you and good night. Thank you very much.